Hello. Today I'd like to talk about a kind of cool, serious subject, and it's the U.S. military's version of the Christian God. Basically, when you're in the U.S. military, whether you're Christian or not, you do hear a lot of stuff about God. It's in the cadences, it's in a lot of the backbone of what the military is all about, and he's kind of brought up fairly often, not in conversation, but in just doctrine in a sense. Like for instance, pray to God that your D-Day landing goes well, kind of thing. Like there's a lot of that kind of rhetoric. So what is God's place in warfare? Well, I think if you wanted to get on a cool spiritual level, I don't really even buy this, but I would say what are they getting at? Basically, in the military, God is a warrior. He's not really known for his other cool traits that, the vast majority of the public associates with him. Like all the qualities of Jesus Christ and his decency and greatness are not really applied to the Christian military God. War God, I guess that's what I'll call him, old war God, he's like this bad motherfucker who wants you to kill as many enemies, no matter who they are, and is going to help you do that, and then is going to help you come home and survive. That's what war God is for America, and it's actually pretty funny, like, because I really did buy into this war God more than I bought into the normal Christian God, because this version's a badass motherfucker. He's basically like special forces. So there's like this little cadence that goes, "For in my heart I have no fear, because my Ranger God is here." And it's like, okay, like Ranger God? Did he just say that? Ranger God? Like, we actually are looking at God as a fucking ranger? Like, that's how skewed the version of God is in the military. And it's supposed to be the same Christian God that you follow from your Christian home when you were growing up. And they even have church services and stuff like that on the base for the soldiers. And what's funny is, during those, you actually don't hear that much about, like, Ranger God or anything. It's just the normal stuff. Normal church services. But once you get into the army, in the military, the way God is treated in the logic is that he wants you to go kick some fucking ass, and he's going to watch your back while you do it. I don't think I buy this anymore. I would say if there's any possibility of spiritual interference with warfare, it would look more like this. Being that I was a combat medic, the closest I've ever felt to God in my life was during treatment. When somebody was wounded and I was doing my very best to make sure that they were okay, I felt very close to God, Jesus, all that bullshit in the moment. Having said that, there was another element that made me feel kind of the opposite. In training, I was on a 50 cal machine gun and got rather excited and started, having a good old time unloading on the fake bad guys, and I couldn't help but notice how satanic my demeanor became. I started laughing and cursing and having just the best time imagining what this 50 cal could do to people. And I kind of realized right there, like, maybe the way this bitch works is kind of like when you're trying to stay alive or keep somebody else alive, God is with you. But when you're trying to slay the enemy, that's Satan. And it's like that. The Christian belief there, I just don't think it really adds up, because it kind of sounds like you're channeling both to get your job done. Like, hey, Satan, help me kill these motherfuckers. Hey, God, get me the fuck out of here. It's like, it's a little weird. It's like the relationship with the military and spirituality is kind of like, there's a line in Family Guy where Stewie says, "Dear God, just stay out of our way." And it's like, there's... It's not that. It's almost like, "Dear God, slay the enemy for us." And it's like, good Lord, I'm not really sure this is how prayer is supposed to be used. Aren't you supposed to be asking for, like, decent things other than people having holes in their bodies until they die? It seems a little odd. And it's like, so the interpretation of God while you're in the military is that he totally approves of you being an American soldier, and he's totally cool with you fighting and killing stuff in his name. And it's like, so that's the Ranger God, war God, that you end up kind of worshiping, because the regular version of Jesus and Christianity actually doesn't really comply with, invading poor nations and killing their people in vast numbers. It doesn't. So you end up with your own version of God that does totally allow those things. Ranger God sounds pretty sketchy. I mean, he's totally into you killing the enemy. Well, who does the enemy pray to? Because it kind of sounds like the U.S. military has its own fucking war god, and yet it's like, well, what about when the Viet Cong, the Germans, or Japanese, or somebody of an enemy of our past? What about when they prayed to God in combat? What do we expect there? Do they have the same Ranger God watching their back? Because it kind of sounds like we think it's only watching ours, which is a little sketchy. And it's like the whole idea of a Christian God that has a role to basically boost our capabilities in combat is pretty stupid. Like, it's actually pretty dumb. Like, it's hard to believe that, like, the U.S. military, an apparatus that has killed millions of people, would be totally supported by the beliefs of a Christian God. If you've read the Bible, maybe the Old Testament shit or something, but we're talking about old JC, Jesus Christ himself. Would he approve of any of these horrible things that the U.S. military does? Fuck no. He would probably wish for the soldiers, or kind of push soldiers to abandon their idealisms of combat and wishes of killing something, and to focus their energy on creation and helping others instead. And it's like, so it doesn't even seem like the Christian God would line up with what's being done. The military is all about destruction and killing things, nothing really more. And so the idea that we would have, that God just follows us right into that and thinks it's fine and ethical and supports us and makes sure that we win, I don't know about all that. It just sounds a little sketchy. Like I said, the only time I felt close to God while in treatment, in service, was while I was treating people who were wounded. I never felt it while I was, learning to fight. When I got shot at with a live gun, like somebody pulled a pistol on me and shot up my house, I totally felt God with me as I laid down. I felt like every bit of my instincts was ready to do whatever I had to do to survive, and that was being channeled from something much more powerful than even myself. And it was like, that was just a survival situation. I didn't have a gun myself, I was just being shot at, and I felt God with me. So it's like, when you need to survive, and when you need to save somebody else, I would say expect possibilities of higher powers helping you. But if you are content with destroying something or hurting somebody else, I really wouldn't expect anybody cosmically to give a fuck about you, except for if Satan exists. And in my belief, I actually don't think, based on what I learned, Satan and God are the same guy. I mean, you even say God created Satan, God also created man, and we're an extension of, God. So Satan is just an extension of God. He's a piece of him, just like the rib of Adam. So by that logic, both of them are the same guy. When you feel support while you're shooting the machine gun, like something is enjoying the violence, that's God too. That's the dark part of God called Satan. And then there's the good part of God, who wants you to take care of people, be a good person, and become your best self. And it's like, you have to try to figure out which part of this religious experience would really be supporting violence in the military. And you're, well, it's probably Satan. Like, if it was one of the two, I mean, if there are two different beings, then it would seem like Satan would really support this whole slaughtering people wholesale for causes, especially when those causes aren't really all that just ever. So, while you're in the military, what did you experience with God? Did you feel like he was with you, not with you? Did you feel like the interpretation of God that I've said is accurate? This Ranger God, this badass God that watches over you and your buddies in warfare, that's the guy you pray to, right? When you're scared overseas, that's who you pray to. So what has been your experience with combat, military stuff, and your beliefs on religion? And did your time in the military influence your beliefs on religion? Because it certainly did me. So don't take everything I said as fact. It was just me stating some things that I saw, and then also how I feel about it. It doesn't mean I'm right. It doesn't mean I'm particularly wrong. It just means it's an opinion that's out there for people to toy around with and either throw away or modify themselves. So that's what I have to say. Every once in a while I'll make serious videos, and this was one of them.